At 4ZZZ, we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we broadcast. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging of the Turrbal and Jagera people. We acknowledge that their sovereignty over this land was never ceded.
And we stand in solidarity with them.
You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ, amplifying the trans and gender non-conforming voices of Brisbane and beyond.
Good morning, Meanjin. My name is Ez, and I use he, him pronouns. And yeah, we're Transmission, all about amplifying the voices of the trans community in Meanjin and beyond, such as Australia, international. You're going to hear from the trans community on this show. So it's 1 hour of trans and queer power. It's been an interesting week. Last week was Trans Awareness Week. So if you weren't aware of that, well, you've got till next year now to remember. But also, it was Trans Day of Remembrance on November 9th. Well, the Trans Awareness Week ends on Trans Day of Remembrance, which is a time for us to reflect and hold space in our minds and hearts for the people that we've lost within our community. It's a pretty rough time. Usually there's also involves reading out the names of the people that we have lost within our community. And I thought about doing that on air, and then I thought, it's actually really painful for me to do, and also, I'm not, I don't know. I think you should go and check it out for yourself. If you head to Many Genders One Voice, either Facebook or any of their online stuff, you can check out their tribute there. They go up to not Mount Cootha. What's the lookout? Near Kangaroo Point. They go up there and take a look at the Story Bridge, and it lights up in the trans colours, and they hold a vigil up there every year. So I was a bit wet this time, which kind of fit the mood. It was somber. So anyway, if you can have a moment at some point today to reflect on the lives that we've lost and, promise to look after yourself and stick up for the trans community where you can, but also, look after yourself as well. Anyway, moving through. Usually on Transmission, I talk about the week in community events and news, what's going on, what things around town that are known to be trans and queer friendly or safer spaces for us to hang out in, whether that's events or music, live performances and such. So yeah, and there's actually like a bazillion events going on this week. So let's get cracking. There's Sapphics with Spring Fling. It's their final event for the year. So if you wanted to head to Sapphics, you definitely should. It's at the End in West End. It's Friday, 24th of November from 7 p.m. till midnight. Tickets are $15 and they're $10 for concession as well. A portion of ticket sales from this event will be donated to Palestine Relief, and their goal is about $500. So entertainment and drink specials will also be announced there too. Spring has well and truly sprung, so get ready to celebrate before we head into a long, hot summer. Free entry for queer First Nations people, and you can send Sapphics a direct message if you'd like on their socials, or you can just ask when you get there on the day as well. I found that's proven to be quite effective. Also, this Saturday in King George Square is the Trans Day of Resistance. This is a protest. So from 1 p.m. in King George Square, this is organised by queer unionists in tertiary education and Meanjin People's Pride. So this is basically, violence against the trans community must end. This past year, we have seen an escalation in both hate speech and physical violence against the trans community. Protections for the trans community from vilification are lacking. As Trans Day of Remembrance has passed, which was, yes, a day to dedicated to commemorating the lost lives due to transphobia, grassroots groups are coordinating a Trans Day of Resistance across multiple cities at the end of November. Trans Day of Resistance rally is 1 p.m. That's right, 1 p.m. November 25th, this Saturday, King George Square. We rally behind these principles. No right to discriminate. Keep queer kids safe at school. No barrier to transition. Decriminalize and destigmatize sex work. And cops out of community. We invite and encourage all queer and trans people, their friends, families, allies, and accomplices to join us in a rebuke of discrimination and vilification and take a stand for trans rights, liberation, and life. I'm directly going to point out our cis gay members of the LGBTQA+ community, mainly the G's and the L's, especially if you're a cis G and L. Where the hell are you? we've been standing up for you and your right to get married for a very long time. You got it, and then you disappeared. So show up, please, this Saturday, 25th of November from 1 p.m. I am tired of going to rallies where trans people are alone. So please come and stand with us. We need the support. That hopefully we won't have to read so many damn names out on a Trans Day of Remembrance. It's really, really sad. So show up for us, please. We showed up for you. All right. I'm going to stop schooling you like an angry dad. We're going to keep moving. More events this weekend. Q Night at Quiver is the November edition. So in Wynn Lane, that's in the Valley, this Saturday as well from 6 p.m. So when you're finished fighting for rights, you can head down to Quiver. $10 a ticket. It's your monthly queer night. Same place, same time. The theme is Netflix and chill. The Q Wheel is back for some spin, fun music theme interactions, so that's your vibe there. Come and learn interesting stuff about your friends and meet new folks along the way with light facilitated mingling hosted by trans-masked non-binary queer legend Zach. It's never been easier to start the conversation with cute strangers. Dance the night away with resident Laneway DJs Hol Hibbo and DJ Jaguar B. Amp up the party and activate dance floor mode. They've got cocktails, beer, non-alcoholic beverages as well. Come when you want, wear what you like, leave when you're done. Pretty great. There's also 2 local trans queer bands that are playing in 2 different locations this weekend. They're both excellent bands, and you should go to both of them if you can, but if you can't, because, you know, it's hard to split yourself into 2, I understand. Haters Young Ones Tour is up, so that's at the Bearded Lady in West End on Saturday, again 7 p.m, 25th of November. It's $16 for a ticket on Eventbrite. Pretty sure there's tickets on the door as well. Fresh off the heels of their powerful showcase at Big Sound and a triumphant 24-date Canadian tour, including standout performances at NXNE, Sled Island, and the Spring Reverb Festival, Haters are back with a celebratory release tour to round out a huge year for the band. So Young Ones is the second from the forthcoming album, Non-Violent, due to release in 2024. They've got some pretty great support bands. They've got Bent and Mitch Please. So yeah, if you're a fan of those 2, go support Haters with their album launch at the Beardo this Saturday, 7 p.m. And also, just to, you know, throw a spanner into the mix because you don't know who to go see, there's also Mount Nadir are also hosting a mini festival called Live from the Nadir. It's their last show of the year, and they've got special guests, Bean Magazine, as well as Salarymen, and Doris, who has been on Transmission before, from down south, and the night will be opened up by local Mr. Finn and Nudra. Doors from 5 p.m, tickets from Mount Nadir as well. So head over to Mount Nadir on their social pages to check all that one out. Yeah, do it. Check it out. Amplifying the voices of the trans and gender non-conforming community of Meanjin, Brisbane, and beyond.
Transmission on 4ZZZ brings you the latest in trans community news, music, and events.
Every Tuesday from 9 a.m. till 10 a.m.
Join our team of hosts for an hour of celebrating the unique perspectives of the trans community.
Transmission, Tuesday mornings from 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez, I use he, him pronouns, and you're listening to Transmission, and we're about to have a conversation with a guest who's down in Sydney at the moment, but does some really incredible work with the Trans Justice Project. So, how you doing, Jackie?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Yeah, it's great that you're here. I mostly want to just chat about what is the Trans Justice Project.
Yeah, so we started in February of this year. We are an organisation dedicated to building a powerful trans-led movement fighting for justice, equality and freedom for all trans and gender diverse people. We're actually the first national trans-led campaigning org. So, yeah, we started with a crowdfund earlier this year, got like about 2,000 supporters on that, which was just amazing, and it's been clearly a gap that our community is seeing at the moment with the rise in anti-trans attacks, that there needs to be an organisation that's committed to fighting for our community and able to push back against the anti-trans lobby. So that's very much the gap that we see ourselves filling.
Have you seen, like, with a lot of the stuff in the media and all the attention that the trans community is getting, have you noticed that there's been a lot more support that's come out of that for the project you're working on?
Yeah, so we know that most people in Australia actually do support the trans and gender diverse community. There's a poll done back in 2021 that found that 78% of Australians actually support trans and gender diverse people having the same rights and protections as everyone else. But what we find is that very few people in our community actually have a close relationship with someone who is trans. And we know that that's just a really key indicator for how supportive they're going to be of not only our rights, but also how resilient they're going to be against the lies and disinformation that's being spread by the anti-trans lobby at the moment. So we've been really working to equip people to have those conversations, learn more about the trans community, and find ways that they can actually stand in solidarity with us, both in their organisations, but also, in their communities that they're in as well. So we've just actually done a huge open letter in the last week or so for Trans Awareness Week, calling on organisations to sign up in solidarity with the trans community. The letter itself has a whole bunch of statements in it, but I think the key thing is that it's about organisations standing up and saying, actually, we see the anti-trans lobby as a threat not just to the trans community, but a threat to the rights and freedoms of all people and also to our democracy, and saying that they'll oppose any attacks on trans people's rights, lives and care. So we've had over 200 organisations now, I believe, sign up to that statement, which, it's just incredible to see that kind of outpouring of solidarity.
And what happens when people align themselves with the statement of solidarity? So what's the outcome, basically, when we sign with these things?
So the reason why we did it in the first place is because I've spent the last kind of 2-3 years now watching the campaigns, the anti-trans campaigns in the US and the UK, learning how they operate, looking at the kinds of tactics and strategies that they use. One of the things that they do is they aim to gain power and prominence within civil society organisations. So what we want to do is get on the front foot and make sure that organisations are having conversations about where they stand on trans and gender diverse liberation before it gets really charged and really politicised by some of these really bad actors. And so we want them to have those conversations internally. We want them to sign on to the statement as a commitment and a signal that they're already standing with us, and I've had a conversation in their leadership about standing alongside the trans community.
Wow, that's great. So if you want to align yourself, you should definitely sign the Statement of Solidarity.
Yeah, you definitely should. We're going to be continuing to work on it too. Like we've, obviously done it for Trans Awareness Week, but we're going to be building this Statement of Solidarity all the way through next year, asking governments, businesses, organisations and individuals to sign on and support as well. We want this to be a big ongoing thing that people are being asked to sign on to in their communities, that, our community is consistently coming back to, with institutions being like, have you actually signed on to this statement? Do you actually stand with us? Or are you standing with the anti-trans lobby?
Yes. And so this is like, pick a side, damn it.
Yeah,
Help
totally.
us.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
our lives are under attack and we want you to stand with us. Yeah, totally.
Where can we go to sign this Statement of Solidarity?
So you can find it on, the easiest place to probably find me on social, so Jackie May Turner. May is M-A-E, not the month spelling. Jackie May Turner, or look for Trans Justice Project Australia on Instagram, and you'll find all of those links within our bios.
Fantastic. Also, I noticed that you have other events that you do, so like the Global Fight for Trans Justice as well, some online events?
Yeah, so last week we held a webinar called The Global Fight for Trans Justice, where we got advocates from the US, the UK and Canada talking about their experiences resisting the anti-trans campaigns in their countries. And so these are people from key organisations that are pushing back against like anti-trans laws or sort of policies and that sort of stuff that are happening in their countries. And so the recording of that will be available up online soon, but we actually have another webinar happening tonight called Conversations for Trans Justice. And what it is it's a conversations training for folks who may be feeling a little uncertain about how to approach those sensitive conversations with their family members, people in their workplaces, about how to talk about trans justice and how to be a really good ally in these moments. So we're going to be on at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. It's a free event, so you can RSVP on our website or on our socials. And we're also going to be using that event to launch our new conversations guide based on the content as well. That'll have lots of examples of the kinds of ways that you can navigate these conversations with your loved ones or colleagues.
Wow, this is great. You're running a really great project here.
Thanks.
Yeah. What got you into this?
So I've been a campaigner for the last 10 years or so now. So I grew up in Queensland, in Brisbane, and was initially really engaged in the fight against coal expansion in Queensland, and was supporting campaigns to help stop the coal ports that were being built up Queensland's coastline. That was until a few years ago when I affirmed my own gender and needed to take a step out of being, on the front lines as an organiser and being a very visible part of the community to take some time out for myself. And that's when I started noticing what was happening around the world with anti-trans campaigns, and was just seeing the exact same playbook that the fossil fuel lobby had used against climate campaigns being used by the anti-trans lobby. So they were funding disinformation groups, they were funding bad science, they were mobilising the far right and just weaponising some of the worst aspects of our culture against people who were trying to stand up for freedom and equality. So that got me fascinated, and I just realised that there wasn't a group that was really able to be on the front lines as a campaigning organisation for the trans community. We have a huge, a really great health and services sector, right, of organisations that are the backbone of our community, supporting us with family services, healthcare, like all these sorts of things, but we didn't have an organisation that was built to be a purely campaigning organisation. So that's very much like where the vision has begun, and obviously it's gained a lot of support, which has just been really wonderful to see people backing it in and being like, yeah, this is totally the organisation we need right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. I also have heard from other small community groups and organisations that take up the Trans Justice Project and their training programs as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. We've run a few training programs now. We're looking to expand into it a bit more next year, where we'll be running a actual activist fellowship. And the idea of that will be to, train up a whole bunch of trans and gender diverse people in campaigning and organising skills, investing in their leadership so that we're ready with groups all around the country to push back against the anti-trans lobby, as we know that they're escalating their attacks in the coming year.
Yeah. What do you think the future holds for us, Jackie?
Freedom, liberation, equality, justice. Yeah.
Woo! Yes.
No, I'm genuinely hopeful about the future. When I speak to my friends and comrades in other countries about the way that the attacks have happened there, a lot of them just weren't prepared in the same ways that we're preparing. We've had the privilege of being able to see this play out in other places, and we're getting ready already to be able to fight back. And it just puts us in such a better position. My hope is that not only do we push back against the oncoming threat of the anti-trans lobby, we also build the movement that we need to make sure that all trans and gender diverse people can be safe, celebrated and free wherever they are in this country.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jackie, for chatting to me this morning.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez. I use he, him pronouns. And I was chatting to Jackie from the Trans Justice Project, and we're talking about the statement of solidarity with the trans community. If you're an organisation that would like to align with the trans community and make it known that you support our rights, our freedoms, and our lives, please consider signing the statement. You can head to transjustice.org.au. That's a great place to start. You get familiar with what they're all about. You can also listen back to this episode if you missed out and you're just tuning in now. We have a podcast. We're on demand. You can head to 4ZZZ.org.au for that. Yeah, it's all there. But mostly, I wanted to read out this statement of solidarity so you can have an idea of whether you want to align with this. I think you should. I think if you support life, I think you should do this. So I'm going to read it. So we, the undersigned organisations, pledge to support the freedom of trans and gender diverse people to be themselves, to have bodily autonomy and to be safe in their communities. We oppose any move that would threaten the rights, freedom or safety of the trans community. We recognise in the examples we have seen from the campaigns in the US and the UK that the anti-equality lobby poses a fundamental threat, not just to the human rights of trans and gender diverse people, but to our democracy and to the rights and freedom of all people. We commit to holding our leaders accountable for anti-trans rhetoric, standing up to the politics of hate and division, and to defend the right of trans and gender diverse people to live free from hatred, violence, harassment, and discrimination. We pledge our support for policies which seek to promote affordable and accessible gender-affirming care for everyone who needs it. We oppose any move that would seek to block or restrict trans people's access to this vital health care, or any move that would threaten the bodily autonomy or self-determination of trans people seeking access to care. We commit to ensuring our workplaces and or services are informed and inclusive. We will stand by our trans and gender diverse workers and clients in the face of anti-trans targeting and attacks, including rhetoric that seeks to dehumanize trans and gender diverse people in our organizations and communities. So there you have it. And I'm proud to say that 4ZZZ have signed this statement of solidarity and stand with us, the trans community. And if you are an organisation that would like to sign transjustice.org.au/stand with us, if you really want to you'll find it on the main page. You'll be fine. Sign, support this community. We need as many people as we can. Jackie was just saying, like over 70% of Australians support us. It's really hard to actually know that if you're not saying something. Being silent is not always the most active way to show that you're an ally. And if you're confused or you don't know how to show solidarity, again, transjustice.org.au, they have a bunch of resources there. They even have training programs if you're an organisation, if you're an individual, some resources, heaps of stuff. So, there's loads of ways that you can show your support. You can also just, if you're a cis person who doesn't understand a lot about the trans community, surely there's a trans person out there, either that ask them, how are you? Are you doing okay? And ask them, is there anything I can do for you? Let's not assume what the community needs. This great statement here, Trans Justice Project are doing amazing work, so please support them.
How many genders are there?
I don't know. I just got here.
You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. It is the end of our show this morning. But thank you so much for listening. And if you want to listen back to anything, you can head over to 4ZZZ.org.au. You can click on our schedule and our programs, and you can listen back to any of our shows back up to like 5 or 6 episodes. So that's got music and everything on demand. Isn't that what people want? You want what you want when you want it now. You want trans stuff now. Don't worry. All the podcasts, all our shows that we've ever done are on the Community Radio Plus app as well. So you can take a look at that. Yeah, trans people are everywhere, whether you know it or not. And if that freaks you out, that's your problem, not mine. Thank you so much, and stay strong for the trans community. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to Transmission. See you next Tuesday, 9 to 10 a.m. on 4ZZZ.